There we go. The gorgeous and talented Kira has returned. There she is. And who else do we have here? Double Tim, good to see you. Rock the Gaspar, 4 nights in a row. Zero Cool, good to see you. Sam Faz, nice to have you here. The gorgeous and talented Jan has returned. If she was in Europe, she'd be Yan. Silent J. Yan. Well, not silent, more like a soft J. Soft J, Yan. Brian Drummond, good to see you, man. Ed Smith, first time here. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Matthew, Quiet Riot. Come on and feel the noise. Jeffrey, Stephen, Garvey, there he is. And he'll sign autographs somewhere down the road. Gorgeous Michelle C. from Australia. Gorgeous Aussie Ange. Justin Ruocco, good to see you. Project Blue Book, we are running out of time because we got to start this show. Where are we going with this? Downshift, nice to see you. Hey, everybody, horns up. Let's rock right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire, and check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Oh, we got a good one for you tonight. Debbie Ziegelmeyer joined MUFON in the year 2000, became a field investigator shortly after. She is currently a MUFON Star Team Investigator, Missouri State Director, and on the MUFON Business Board of Directors. Yet she does it all. She is also the functional director of MUFON's Underwater Research and Recovery. She has over 1,200 completed UFO investigations, over 860 of them being MUFON sighting reports. She is stellar with the knowledge when it comes to Roswell. And if that isn't busy enough, she has a brand new book out called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways. Yes, USOs. And this is our first time ever interviewing Debbie. And I am very excited about this. Debbie, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me on.
You know why I don't like water? There's a lot of sharks in there. A lot of sharks.
They don't bother you.
Yeah, you're not my size, okay? I'm a meal, Debbie, and this is why I'm scared for you. I love your strength and tenacity to go diving with Megalodon to try and find aliens underwater.
Yeah, I'm more afraid of the barracuda, but no, sharks actually. If they bother surfers, snorkelers, the divers, our bubbles scare them away.
I'm not taking that chance. I am so not taking that chance. Debbie, I want our audience to learn a little bit about you tonight before we get going. So we got a long show ahead of us, and this is going to honestly go very, very fast tonight. But for you, what made you join MUFON? What was your first interest into UFOs?
Oh, my first interest was back as a child. I grew up in Safford, Arizona, at the foot of Mount Graham, which now has the telescope. I think the initials spell out Lucifer. It's the Archdiocese, Catholic Archdiocese telescope. And it's there because the sky is just absolutely brilliant. You have low light level. The sky's just phenomenal. The stars you can see. So I always had a telescope. Interested. Of course, I grew up a trekker. I got to a point in my life where I thought, I'm going more for reality rather than TV fantasy. went to MUFON Symposium. I was already going to MUFON meetings, went to the first symposium in 2000, met, oh my gosh, Bruce Maccabee, Bud Hopkins, Stanton Friedman, and the list goes on. And I thought, what am I doing? Looking at fantasy, there's reality out there, and I need to dig way more into that. And it goes on from there. Then I happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up state director. And, it's one of those deals where you don't show up for a meeting and come back and they go, okay, you're running the thing. I'm like, what? So I don't know if it's wrong place at the wrong time or right place at the right time, but it just seems like every day it's a new surprise.
So joining MUFON, you've been there 21 years now. And You've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, you've seen the sideways. For a lot of people on a roller coaster like that, they want to jump off. You've decided to brave it out, stay on board, keep everything going, and to try and make things better rather than, trying to, swim with the rats on a sinking ship, if we want to call it that. Why have you decided that you wanted, through everything that has gone on, say, the last 10, 15 years with MUFON and some of the controversies that have happened, why have you decided to stay a part of the board of directors and with the entire organization?
Well, all that people hear about, all that they focus on are the few bad things that happen. You have a couple of people that maybe aren't happy for whatever reason. You can't please everybody. But as a whole, it's a fantastic organization, full of volunteers worldwide. You have 5 or 6 people here or there that all of a sudden are maybe have different views of how things should be done. But for the most part, everybody there are just the nicest, kindest, most wonderful people, volunteers. We all have the same goal. We want to know answers. We want to get the information out. And I haven't seen enough bad in MUFON at all. I really haven't seen much of anything. I mean, a couple little tiny controversies compared to, it's nothing more than a couple little spats. Everybody's got that in their families. You can't please everybody, I think is what it comes down to. But as a whole, the organization has been around since 1969. And what you're talking about, maybe some problems, you can count that on one hand. We're a great, fantastic organization of wonderful volunteer people that have kind hearts. And I spend at least once a week talking to state directors on Zoom from all over the Midwest. We're all friends, so.
But that's the way it should be. It's like a giant family.
It is a giant family with people that you could talk to about all of this. It's a hard subject to just go and talk to anybody about. These people have experienced the same things that I have. They're as investigators, we're encountering the same type of thing. We can compare notes. We can help each other through difficulties in with maybe witness reports, with the anxiety behind some of us. Some of this is pretty traumatic, especially to witnesses. It's not easy to have an encounter, especially when you start out somebody that doesn't even believe that aliens or UFOs exist, and all of a sudden it's in your face. So it's just it's the right place at the right time, especially with all that's been going on with the military. With what the Navy's releasing now, we're a more important organization to be around than ever, because if you have a sighting, we're the people to go to. We will fully investigate it for you. We investigate like police detectives.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And, one of the things that I do want to disclose is Tom Whitmore, who is also on the board of directors. I'm very proud and honored to be able to call him a friend of not only this show, but me personally. And, Tom and I talk once or twice a week just to talk about anything. It could be the sky being blue. It doesn't really matter. And, he's the one who's really convinced me about the good hearts that are actually in MUFON and the goals of everybody have. And I said a lot of things, and there's still some things that I'm critical of with the organization. But on the flip side, there's a when I first got into this, I was thinking, you know what? There's a lot more bad than good. And after talking with Tom, I've really flipped over the last few years. I've really flipped. And the one thing about MUFON that I do like is it has a proud tradition. Okay, barring some blips, it has a very proud tradition to the public, to the people who are on staff, to the investigators and the state directors that go on. And to be a part of a family like that, where everybody has the same goal in common, which is solving this mysterious riddle that we call UFOs, do you think we're any closer to getting any answers whatsoever?
I would hope. I hope we are. I believe with the Navy coming out and releasing information, the government releasing information, the more that I get involved. Actually, when I became an investigator, I believe it was right at the beginning of 2001, I had no idea how much was out there until I actually started reading reports. There's so much information. People just go along with their normal lives and don't realize what's going on behind the scenes. It's a very well kept secret. More and more is coming out now, but I tease about it. The more I get involved, I think, when I first started, they said, "What do you want to join MUFON?" I said, "Well, I want to know the truth." And now I'm almost sorry I asked. The more I get involved, the more I have to get more involved. And I believe we're going to have some type of disclosure if we haven't already. Just the Navy, the government admitting that there are extraterrestrials out there and there are craft that they can't identify. We've already got some form of a disclosure.
Very true. And I strongly believe, too, that for the majority of experiencers out there, I'm not saying witnesses, I'm saying experiencers, they've had their own disclosure as well as we go down to it. But for the majority of the public out there, the numbers still show that even though people believe in UFOs, that this subject is still quite taboo, Debbie, to a lot of people, from the mainstream media on down to Joe and Jane Sixpack, who are working their daily jobs trying to keep food on the table and a roof over their head. And as a public, and as part of the big organization, which is MUFON, what is the public really missing when it comes to talking about this topic?
What are they missing? Basically, I mean, the information, the knowledge of it. I don't really think there are as many people as you believe that don't acknowledge the fact that there are extraterrestrials out there and they have been visiting the Earth. They just don't. People are so wrapped up now in their own lives and what's going on right here in front of them. Especially, we've got the younger people and they're constantly doing that. That when I talk to people, when I talk to witnesses, they say, "Well, I've always been interested in the subject and I always really believed, but it just never affected me personally." And that's where the change is actually happening, because it's more personal now. It's coming out in the news. Several news media, Tucker Carlson, for one, is talking about it. He had a whole special on his show about UFOs and the visitation. He's got Nick Pope on. He's had him on several times. And I think the more that the knowledge is out there, the more passe it's going to be for everybody. I know in my area, I talk to police officers. I say, "Here's my card if you ever see anything." And they go, "Yeah, I saw this and that, but I really didn't know who to talk to about it." The knowledge is out there. The acceptance is out there way more than it ever was before, I believe, or at least people are admitting it more, but I don't think it's all that taboo of a subject.
Is disclosure a good thing?
Disclosure is always a good thing. I don't like people hiding. I don't like secrets. I don't like people who lie. We have a right to know. We have a right to know that anything that affects our lives personally, we have a right to know. And being that there is other life out there, you'd have to be really naive not to believe that we're the only people in the entire universe. All you have to do is go outside at night where there aren't a lot of clouds, a lot of buildings, a lot of light, and look at the sky. Look through night vision binoculars at the sky at night. My gosh, there's so much out there. Even astronomers have finally come to the reality that we're not alone. So why would we think the sightings go back? I mean, the sightings go back centuries and centuries and centuries.
Oh, very true. Very true. And I mean, could you imagine being like in the 1500s where there's no pollution, there's no nothing except the night sky, and you're seeing weird lights or weird craft in the sky? I mean, how do you even explain that at that point, let alone try to explain it today with all the technology that we have, both hidden and unhidden?
Well, that's one good argument for this being government. I think the oldest sighting I have found is 1067. Columbus in 1492 had a sighting, but there were several before that. There's sightings in the Bible. You read the St. James Bible, and it talks about fire in the sky or some type of a chariot in the sky, and how people are taken up by a light, how the voice from above talks to people below. There's all you have to do is look. It's out there. All you have to do is look at books, look at history, look at pictoglyphs. There's things on pictoglyphs that people can't explain. Native American in Egypt, it's there to find, but people are so wrapped up in what they're doing that you have to have somebody who has an interest in it. That, thank goodness, that brings it out to the public.
Very, very true. Very true. For you though, you have specialized, we're going to get into this a little bit more in the show. You have been specializing in underwater UFOs and the search underwater. I don't think a lot of people really understand that this is happening in waterways all around the world. I mean, even Canada here in Shag Harbor, that's probably the biggest one that we've seen in North America so far. But what attracted you to looking for these USOs underwater?
that was kind of by default. I ended up, my son and my husband took an interest in scuba diving, and they decided they were going to include me. And this is back, I was certified the weekend after 9/11. The more I got in the water and the more interest in the water, and I basically liked scuba diving because I wanted to be an astronaut, and that wasn't back when I was of age to maybe become an astronaut. They really weren't accepting women, or not so much. And the interest, I'm thinking about water, and I'm thinking about, then the more you get interested in a topic like that, but being interested in water, I started reading about all the sightings that were in the water, knowing that the Earth is 70% water, covered by water. So I thought, oh my gosh, underwater, there's so much under there. Some of these reefs, and I look around and this coral, it's like an aquarium. And then you come up and you're looking at the surface, and I'm thinking, nobody up here knows what's underneath there. It's a whole different world. And that took my interest toward looking more into underwater sightings. And I was astonished to find out that 1 in 5 sightings is water related. It's either coming in and out of the water, over the water, near water, lake, river, streams, ocean, seas. And so I started focusing that. And in 2003, I believe it was the first year that I taught an underwater UFO search and recovery class, just kind of as a fun thing to do. But it seems like the natural place to look.
It does. You know what I've always wanted to see, the more I've got into this over the last 7 years, is I've always wanted to see a submarine go down into Shag Harbor. Because if that craft broke off pieces down there, and the way the military just kind of hurries up in any event to clean up a mess, there's got to be something down there.
Oh,
there has to be. But with the currents and the great white sharks and everything that's down there, and more great white sharks are showing up there every year, and old Dave's never going to go there because of that. Okay. I just really believe, and I don't know why, but that if Discovery Channel or somebody like that ever did a special on Shag Harbor and brought a submarine down there, I bet you they would find something, because it's not that deep.
Well, they may have gathered everything up. You never know. It's not that deep, but I've lost things underwater and looked for. I've got an underwater metal detector, and I lost a necklace doubloon. And I've looked in the area, and it's so hard. The water is so vast, the currents, the silt, and everything else. If it was that easy to find something underwater, all the underwater treasures would be found. It took Mel Fisher and his family years to find the Etosha. And even though the water in the Florida Keys is crystal clear, you can see for 75 foot or more visibility. It just seems like the water, it churns, things move over, and just within a few days, something is covered. So, yeah, it would seem easy, but being a diver and being underwater and actually dropping something and having to try and look for it, nope, it's a good hiding place.
Well, and I agree with you on that, but all I'm saying is it would be very, very interesting to see that case actually go down and somebody, spend the money to go see what would actually be down there. Just in case. You never know.
No, I'll go.
Yeah, you could go with the great whites, that's for sure.
I want to ride aboard.
You go. Once again, great whites. They eat people. There was a video that came out about a month and a half ago in Newfoundland where they were filming all the coves, mapping all the coves just to see how things have changed. And in one of these coves, there was a 20-foot great white swimming around in there. I'm like, no bloody way am I going in there. None. No. Danger. Thank God I live on the other side of the coast. And there's a big mountain range in between the ocean and me, because there's no way a great white can now jump up and grab me. That paranoid. Oh,
you never saw Shark Week, huh? Or was it Shark Tornado?
No, nothing to do with sharks. My sisters made me watch Jaws at the age of 7, and I've been terrified ever since.
No, the fun thing to do around here is, even though we're in Missouri, there's an area, lake, that we have some property off of. And every once in a while, the people down there will have an outdoor screen, and they'll show Jaws at night, and they'll have everybody get in the water.
Nope.
And,
No.
There aren't any sharks in Missouri, but it's just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's an out. I'm not going to that party ever. Ever. We have about 1 minute here, Debbie, before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. MUFON's Debbie Ziegelmeyer is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to be talking USO. She has a brand new book out called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity. It can be found on Amazon, and it's a good one for your library. Debbie, this subject, I know you love it. I know it's a big part of who you are. Do you still get excited about the topic of UFOs after all these years?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially when I know I'm going to go diving someplace that's had activity and I haven't been there before. The Caribbean, every time I go on a cruise, I can't wait to take my night vision camera and wait outside, because, we talk about that later, but I've actually had a sighting off of a cruise ship. Oh, so, wow. Yes, anytime I get near water...
Yeah, I'm going to trust you on that one, okay? Because I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. Debbie, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back with Debbie Ziegelmeyer from MUFON, an interesting letter put out by MUFON director Dave McDonald today to the media regarding UFOs. And I'll tell you, I like it. I've been screaming aloud on this show for MUFON to say something and get into the media. This is how it starts. We'll get into it next on Spaced Out Radio. Well, that was a quick start.
So we're off for a bit.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes, and just remember, our audience on YouTube and Twitch can hear us right now, okay?
That's fine.
So, just in case. Simon, again, holy cow. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that.
You really have a phobia about sharks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't bother you. I mean, I've never encountered a huge one, but I've encountered one twice as big as me, and
no, that's
and chased it trying to get a picture, and you just can't. They're gone.
When I was 17, I met this girl down in Disneyland. Because me and my buddy were down in Disneyland, and we wanted to go chat with some girls, and I met this girl. She ended up joining the United States Navy and was a diver. And she actually invited me down to San Diego, where she would take me into the ocean, and we'd go swim with great whites. I said, well, what about a cage? She's like, you don't need a cage. They're just big puppies. I'm like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah. I didn't see her for another 8 years after that. Not doing it. Just not doing it.
Oh, I'm not afraid of sharks. I chase aliens.
I'll deal with the aliens over the sharks anytime, right?
Yeah.
Because at least if you die by an alien, that's a cool death that not everybody's had. All right? I know there's only about 7-8 fatalities worldwide a year or something like that by sharks, but either way, those are all preventable. Aliens, you don't know what's going to happen. You might just zip right through here, shoot their laser and get you. Well, that's a good story to tell the grandkids in the future. I'm okay with that. Just so you know, I do see some questions coming up in our chat room. Hour 2 is when we will get to questions from the audience. Hour number 2. So if you could hold off on that, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. And I will ask you, if you don't mind, to repost. Mysterion, how you doing, buddy? Raven is Ryan. Good to see you. Silent Edge Manny, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate that, Manny. Thank you. And who else has showed up here? Jason McDaniel, thank you so much for that super chat, man. Really appreciate that. That's awfully nice. Thank you. Oh, wow. Let's see here. And the gorgeous Kira with a super chat. There we go. Oh, my goodness. You guys are treating me way too kind tonight. Way too kind. Thank you so much. All right. Who else do we have? Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, do that. Definitely. And for those of you who are listening to UFO Garage right before the show with Ben and Joe, you missed a great show. If you haven't checked them out or Thomas Fessler out, you got to go hit that subscribe button. And you know what, everyone? I got to go with this one. I have to go with this one. Because if I don't, I'm going to kick myself in the butt later, and I know I'm going to, because, get this, here we go. Paranormal Chop Shop, Sonny, who dressed up like me for Halloween, greatest costume ever, okay, fantastic costume. They got a new psychic medium who will be joining their team on the Paranormal Chop Shop. You get free readings on the air if you're into that kind of woo. Bridget is her name. She's been doing readings most of her life. Apparently very good at what she does. I'm going to try this out. Yep. She's going to be a longtime partner of the show. So that would be awesome. Chad Smith will be there as well. Yes, the Chad Smith, people. He might even be signing autographs. I don't know. It all depends what kind of mood he is in. You know how he gets. I mean, now that his star is shining, he gets a little bit over his head. But that's okay. That's okay. We'll make it happen. So check out Paranormal Chop Shop. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. They are an SOR-approved show. And, make sure you check it on out. All right. Smokin' Joe, good to see you. The gorgeous Kim Jellin, welcome back. Obi Flett, good to have you here, man. Thank you for joining us. And, where is Chop Shop? I should add a wrench on him. Where is Chop Shop? Hold on. Let me find you here. We got about 35 seconds here, Deb. Mute that. Where are you? Where is Paranormal Chop Shop? There you are. Boom. Just like that. All right. So a big thank you to Simon times 4, Alicia, Apollo, Jeremy, Cherry Pepsi, Mike, the man who invented the piano key tie, Manny, Jason, and Kira for the amazing super chats tonight. Let's get this going here with the second half hour right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And happy birthday to one of our favorite listeners, Spooky Morales. Very happy birthday to you. You don't look a day over 62, my friend. A day over 62. But happy birthday nonetheless. We want to say hello to everyone checking us on out, even if it's your first time checking out the Woo. We appreciate it. And we want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight from the MUFON Board of Directors and an great author as well. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is here. Yes, we are talking UFOs and USOs all night long. She got a brand new book out called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO water-related activity. You can find it on Amazon, a good one to add to your library. Debbie, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm enjoying being here. This is great.
Oh, I'm having fun, too. I'm having a lot of fun, too. So,
well, thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Earlier today, I thought this was great.
Yep.
I thought this was great. Executive Director David McDonald of MUFON, to all members, field investigators, and the general public, sent out a note. And I'm just going to read this. He says, there are fast-moving parts to a UFO problem concerning the United States government this year. There are the Tic Tac sightings by pilots that came to light. There was the report to Congress this summer, and now the overdue follow-up report. However, this week, things took a great turn for ufology, and it requires everyone's help. Democratic Senator from New York State, Kirsten Gillibrand, introduced legislation to establish, by amendment to a pending bill, the creation of a permanent office for UFO investigations within the federal government. This office would require ongoing reports to Congress every year on what our military and intelligence agencies are observing. Gillibrand's amendment to the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act would establish an office in the Department of Defense to study UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomena. Per Fox News, according to Section 1652 of the proposed bill, which Congress could pick up as soon as later this month, the new office would replace the present Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force program in the U.S. Office of Naval Intelligence. So MUFON now, in paraphrasing, is asking members, field investigators, UFO researchers, and enthusiasts to this public to really go through the wording of this and put pressure on the United States Senate and House of Representatives to pass the amendment through to the defense bill. Now, Debbie, I'm going to tell you this. When I have had some deep talks with my good friend Tom Whitmore, who's also on the board of directors, I have said, Tom, why aren't you guys doing something like this? It seems like MUFON has been silent the last 4 years when it comes to this study. And then, boom, Dave McDonald drops the hammer on getting MUFON into the public picture with this. What do you guys think's going on here? This is awesome.
There's been communication with, there's been several times where people, especially Stephen Greer, took things before Congress. But with this announcement, of course, she just made this announcement, we're going to jump on it. But Marco Rubio has been pushing for this the last couple of years that I know about, probably before that. Senator from Florida. So it's coming out little by little, but I think more people are getting on the bandwagon about this. And absolutely. I think we all need to contact our congressmen, our senators, local officials, everybody we can. This is a perfect chance to, this is a door, this is an opening to the door. Let's make our way through it.
Why did Dave McDonald choose, and the board of directors choose at this time to finally take a stand and stand up and say, look, guys, we got to do our part here. We got to get it out.
Probably because she made the announcement that she was making an amendment to this bill. He got word of it and thought, this is what a great opportunity. Dave McDonald is, the man's phenomenal. He's brought MUFON in a whole different direction in the last year. We're heading more towards science. Tom Whitmore's had a lot to do with that too, but everybody on the board, but we want to push more toward disclosure, more toward being more scientific. We've been gathering information from other ufology organizations, trying to be one big community. And with an opening like this, knowing that somebody is actually going to form a committee within the government, well, absolutely, of course. We all have to do our part. We have to speak up loudly and say, let's get this done.
Well, I think we have to do that. But, how do we get it done? Because when I look at ufology over the last 4 years, I see a lot of different narratives, different cliques that are showing up and supporting different parts of the entire narrative. I see a media that really doesn't know how to cover this subject very well, outside of maybe one or two people. I see a force of government that is coming on in and acting stupid, like this is a new phenomena, that they're just finding out about this. I mean, there's in my opinion, a lot of cover-up coming on and covering up each other's tracks here. How do you break through that?
You have to at least begin somewhere. You have to try. We've had the release of we keep talking about that, but the release of all these Navy videos. They started, those came out, they were leaked out. Now that we have those, and they have actually acknowledged the existence, and we have people, like the senator today. Well, I don't know if it's not just necessarily today. This is when I got the letter also from Dave McDonald, but people like Marco Rubio, people like President Trump that actually announced the fact that we have a space force. We had a space force, I believe, all the way back in 1952. It was founded by Eisenhower. President Eisenhower took NASA and separated it into the public and the military. So there's been something behind the scenes forever. I found books. I found a Space Force manual from 1993. So it's been out there, but I believe a lot of what's happening now is you've got the public that's going into space. My goodness, we just had William Shatner go into space. Yeah, so you can't hide what's going on. The public is going into space. Things are going to go out. The little secret is out of the bag. And as long as it is, I believe that people are being pressured. Our Congress and Senate are being pressured, if not from within, at least from the public, to form some kind of a committee, or at least, an office for this.
I want to get to some news from earlier today, where Avril Haines, who is the Director of National Intelligence, came out in a press conference earlier today and basically said, we got aliens. And that's reading between the lines here. So she was quizzed. I'm going to read this story from the New York Post because this is where I'm getting the information from it. And I'm going to really appreciate your opinion on this. She states, Haines was quizzed about the UFOs, which have become a serious national security debate in the U.S. after years of being consigned to the dustbin of conspiracy theories. The stunning UAP task force report published by the Pentagon over the summer admitted that there have been unexplained encounters between the U.S. military and mystery objects. The report goes on to say, Haynes appeared to crack the door open even further for a possible alien link at the event where she spoke alongside NASA Chief Bill Nelson, leading expert Professor Avi Loeb, and the world's second richest man, Jeff Bezos. And she admitted there remains things about the strange encounters which the intelligence community simply does not understand, highlighting the need for more information and investigation. The main issues that Congress and others have been concerned about is safety of flight concerns and counterintelligence issues. Always there is also a question of, is there something else that we simply do not understand which might come extraterrestrially? Haynes appeared to hesitate when mentioning the word extraterrestrially, but she now has become the most senior person in the intelligence community to hint at an alien link. This is huge. Huge.
Well, I don't know. I think Ronald Reagan hinted at an alien presence, at least. Way back then, there've been several presidents that have kind of hinted at it, but not come right out and blatantly said, yeah, we are aware. But it's gone from from presidents and people in public places hinting to outright just saying we're going to form a committee. They're bringing it out more, and I think the reasoning behind it is I don't think there's a choice. I think other countries are going to start. We already have one country in particular, Brazil, another one, Mexico. There are several European countries that come right out, and they're not trying to hide anything. The people that are trying to hide what's going on are the three major powers, China, Russia, and us. England probably hides some of what they have, but I think it's kind of in your face. It's out there, and there's going to be enough people, especially the more that it's on the media, the more that's being released. We were looking forward to more documents being released. What was that supposed to be in May? And then it came out in June, and we never got anything. What we got was the typical runaround from like we got during Roswell, when they said, okay, Roswell is going to be investigated by the government. Then they tried to tell us that it was these mogul balloons and and that it happened in the 1950s, and they didn't pull any wool over anybody's eyes on that one. And I think they're trying to do it again, and there's a lot of pushback from the public.
Very true. Very true. But, the way this story is coming out, and I've asked people who are high up off the record about this, but I want to get your opinion. To me, as an experiencer and someone who covers this topic on a journalistic level, it all comes down to one question. Why now? Why now are we all of a sudden getting information on this? We know it's not something new, the way the government officials are playing this. We know it's not something that has just started happening since the 2004 Nimitz incident. We know that the military has been chasing UFOs for decades. We know all of this information has happened since Roswell and before. But the big question that I think every ufologist needs to ask and put pressure on these people is, after 70 plus years of cover-up and denial, where people's lives have been ruined, where people's lives have been turned over, where experiencers have gone through hell and back for a lot of them, and the denials that we've seen from the government, why now? Why do you think this topic now, out of everything we are going through on this planet, has decided to make UFOs an issue?
Because I think the cat's out of the bag. For years, since the very beginning, everything that's gone into space has been controlled by governments, by our government, by China, by the Russians, the International Space Station, by government, by scientists. It's all controlled. Well, now you've got two different rich guys. You've got people with money, just two of them so far, that are sending their own private vessels into space. So that's what it is. The public is starting to go into space. The government is losing control. And if you do any kind of research about what has been seen by astronauts, what's been seen from the International Space Station, video that's been picked up. There was a few years ago where they had live feed. My gosh, there used to be live feed from the International Space Station when all of us had those big giant satellite dishes. And then that got cut off, and we ended up, it's all being controlled now. But there's things up there, there's reports of what's been seen by the people that our governments have sent up. And now the public is going into space. And, you know, the first thing Shatner said was, he says, I didn't care about floating around weightless. I wanted to look out the window. Somebody's going to look out the window, and there's going to be somebody else that's going to look back in.
But haven't we already seen that, though, with the International Space Station?
Oh, absolutely we have. But the information coming to us is being edited. Where they're letting us see what they want us to see. We're not getting the full picture. It's all being I guess it's being redacted. It's being altered. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of people out there who have seen. You see reports all the time. I try and watch anything that has anything to do with astronauts, with space, what's seen from the space station, what's seen underwater. And you can see those on YouTube all the time where they have some special, where somebody has released pictures. They used to work for the government, and there's pictures of some type of craft, and then they've been erased out of the picture, removed, photoshopped out at a high resolution level. Not something that you can, they have the technology to just make things disappear. But now we've got the public is going into space. And right now it's $250,000, I believe, to catch a ride on some of these. It's going to get a lot cheaper fairly soon. And the secret is going to be out. And it's going to be out by the public. I mean, that's got to be it. Because the only thing that's really changed is that the public's going into space. I mean, think about it. They're losing control is what it is.
Well, I will say this, Jeff Bezos, I believe, just raised his price from $250,000 to $500,000 because, he needs that extra $250. He just can't survive. How is he going to feed his children and put them through college, right? But you do bring up a point, but I'm going to add something to that. What if the world and their leaders have been contacted? What if the extraterrestrials have sent down some sort of signal or maybe a scout ship and said, we're coming, this is the date we are going to be here. Start preparing. To me, Debbie, as far out as that question may sound, the way everything seems to be rushing around this topic and the control of the narrative and control of the way the information is getting out, it seems very plausible that that may be the case.
Philip Corsell Jr. back, oh my gosh, it might have been 2003. I think I went to a conference and he was talking about that, about how the Roswell craft shouldn't have been here, he was talking about time travel, how we shouldn't have the technology that we have. And it was the craziest thing. He was talking about how we should try and be building a ship. And I mean, they basically escorted him off and said, oh, sorry, he has to go off to the airport. But part of what he was saying, in part was what was going on way back then, that there were rumors going around that there was a giant craft, a mothership that was headed this way. And I believe they said it was going to be here. I heard a couple different stories on it. It was either 2025. I also heard 2035 from somebody else. This has been way back. But some of that I heard too, just going to Roswell every year, way back starting in 2000 and getting to talking to people, talking to different speakers. So you might very well be right, because we're already almost at 2022. If it's 2025 and there's something headed here, that would probably be the reason for the rush. Whether or not it's true, it's possible. that there could be something going. Also, didn't the Chinese find some kind of structures on the dark side of the moon?
Well, that's the rumor.
Right. So I think we're also talking about going to Mars. Maybe we've pushed the wrong button someplace. Could very well be, because you're right. All of a sudden, everybody is anxious to start releasing news right now. I really tend to think it more has to do with the fact that the public's going into space. They're losing control of what's going on, and whether or not, they like it. How long is it going to be before the public somebody decides they're going to put something on the moon? Well, now, the story's going to break that the astronauts saw things they couldn't identify when they were walking on the moon.
Well, there's a reason why we haven't been back in 50 years. And I don't think it's because of technology.
I think we were probably back. I think we just kept it a secret. I think it, and something else too, I thought it was really hard to believe that we spent all that money to get the International Space Station up and running, and then we stopped the shuttles. We stopped the whole project, the whole how would I put this? Well, basically, we stopped flying the shuttles. That whole everything, all the money that we spent to develop that, and then we had to catch a ride with the Russians. We have to catch a ride to go to the International Space Station. Really? What's going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about?
Well, you think the aliens gave NASA a timeout?
No, I don't know. I think we stopped using the shuttle because we came up with something better, and they just didn't want to make it public. There might be some of these craft that are actually ours, and we think that they're alien craft, but a good portion of what I'm seeing, what I've taped, what I have witnesses look at, I can't believe from the way that the things that I'm seeing I don't believe that's anything that has to do with our government, but I believe a lot of the craft that we're seeing could very well be. What happened with Aurora? There was that for Aurora is actually shaped like the Roswell craft was. The original Roswell craft. It wasn't a saucer. It was kind of like a flipped up wing. So I think our technology went beyond the shuttle, and we're out there doing a lot more than they're letting us believe.
That is quite possible. Quite possible. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have just under 2 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Debbie, what you're talking about may scare a lot of people about the reality of what is going on. How do you try and get people to focus, and where should they focus?
You mean fear-wise?
Yeah.
Or, like I said, that you could go back. And that would be something I would tell someone and have actually witnesses who are afraid. I said, they could have hurt you. These are beings that are maybe not hundreds of years. They could be thousands of years ahead of us. They could have wiped this planet out a long time ago. They could have wiped this planet out in biblical times, and they haven't. They've had the opportunity. I don't think they're going to do anything to us now. Why would they could have, if they wanted to harm us, they could have done this when we had no technology. They're not going to wait till we've got atomic bombs now and then decide they're going to start a battle. I don't believe they've had plenty of opportunity. I don't think that's the agenda. I think it's more, it's research, it's science, that type of thing. But I don't think they're here to destroy the earth and mankind as we know it.
Very true. Very true. Debbie, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Hard to believe we're already an hour into tonight's show. I am enjoying it. I hope you are as well. Debbie Ziegelmeyer from MUFON's Board of Directors is with us tonight. She has a brand new book out. You can find it on Amazon. It's called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO water-related activity. It's a great one for your UFO library if you got one, and if you don't, a great one to start with. And when we come back, USOs, underwater craft. Are the extraterrestrials swimming underneath our feet when we're swimming in the ocean, or lakes, or rivers? We'll find out from Debbie when we return on Spaced Out Radio for hour number 2. All right, we're clear.
Yep. Hair in my eyes. My hair's kind of everywhere.
I know that feeling.
It's out of control.
Thomas Fessler, thank you so much for that super chat, buddy. I appreciate that. Love your support of this show, man. Really appreciate it. And don't forget, on Monday through Friday, you can check out Thomas Fessler. He's on 2 hours before us. Go to his channel, Thomas Fessler, for Disclosure Tonight. Great topics, great show, very journalistic, and really appreciate Tom's hard work in doing what he does on his channel. So thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. All right. Now we can hang on out.
Well, I was reading the... Yeah, very interesting. I mean, all of it's very interesting. But I mean, it's all I can figure. It's got to be, it has to be that we're going into space. You know, when you can get William Shatner at 90 years old to be able to go in space, you know. And then we got the Chinese too. It used to be that it was the Russians and the Americans, and that's it. The Chinese are all in space. They're all over the moon. They're planning trips to Mars.
Now,
you know, our government's losing control. They're going to have to finally come out and say something.
All right. You know what? As a Canadian, I'm proud to say that the oldest man in space, oldest person in space, is Canadian.
Yeah.
I wish they would have mentioned that. I wish they would have mentioned that.
I know. Well, you know what? Anybody that knows who Shatner is knows that. All of us trekkers know he's Canadian.
I know, you know, I mean, but there are Canadians who don't even know he's Canadian. He's been gone for so
well, they're
long.
not trekkers. We all know it. No, that was fantastic. I watched every bit of that. I was so proud of him. You know, he said he's up there and he said, what am I doing? I'm 90 years old. What am I doing? You know, I can't believe this. I mean, it was typical Shatner. It was great. Just at his reactions when he came down. Oh my gosh.
Hard to believe that right after the original Star Trek, he was broke.
Really?
Yeah, he was broke for a while. I think he even was a used car salesman at one point, trying to get back on his feet in between jobs, and then all of a sudden the Trekkies took over and pushed him right back into prominence.
Yeah, you know, he never had a problem with that at all. He embraced it. Leonard Nimoy, for a while, he had a book out that said, "I am not Spock." I wish I could get a hold of that copy because I got a hold of the copy that says, "I am Spock." I think Shatner probably said, "You fool, you know, I'm making all this money. So what, you can't get a job doing anything else?" Although, you know, Shatner was T.J. Hooker.
Yeah.
You know, he was also, I loved him on, I forgot the name of it. He was the attorney. Therefore, there was a show where he was an attorney.
Yes.
Loved Shatner. And, wow, brave man.
Very, very.
Was great. I think he was having second thoughts toward the end, but, you know, and lucky too that he got, I know his trip was free. He talked about how, you know, he could have done, you know, either trip, gone up, you know, I sorry it's late. I can't remember the other gentleman that's sending people up. He said he liked going with what he did because it's more for the public.
Yeah.
Than the other was more commercial.
Yeah.
And I'd remember the ship if they'd send me my ship. I mean, because it worked out. As he was being interviewed, I was on my cell phone. I ordered a T-shirt. I ordered patches. I ordered a replica of the ship. You know, I'm over there dishing out the money. I mean, I know you can't see in the background. I've got replicas of a lot of different craft back there.
Thank you, Apollo, for the amazing super chat. Really do appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Nicole Sakic is asking, you investigated the Bigfoot story, the Bigfoot video.
Oh, me?
Did you?
No.
Have you done anything with Bigfoot?
No, not really. I've come across sightings with Bigfoot.
She keeps asking me about baby Bigfoot to ask you about it.
No, that wasn't me. I've not rubbing.
All right, not a problem.
Baby Bigfoot.
Not a problem. My loyal and trusted Nicole Sackage. Getting confused on that one.
Might have had a case. I've done a lot of cases. Might have had one where there was a small, maybe oh, you know what that was? We're not sure what it was. I'm remembering that it was back in 2019, maybe November or December, and we were out on a river on a sandbar and turned around, and there was something on another farther over with water in between on a sandbar, and it was short. It was kind of moving behind a tree back and forth, and my night vision couldn't pick it up, and I grabbed different night vision, turned around, and I heard a splash in the water. So that may or may not have been a small Bigfoot. We're not sure, but it looked like a teddy bear.
Oh, wow. Like an
yeah, it was like this small teddy bear, maybe 4 foot tall, and it was just this little bush, and it was leaning out like that and looking and then going back.
Wow. All right.
But I was out there investigating something else.
All right, here we go. 3 seconds. Mr. Bumblefoot's going to rock us here.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fandangle. Fandangle is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. You can check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Debbie Ziegelmeyer. She is part of the MUFON Board of Directors, and she's got a brand new book out called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity. And, of course, as a diver all around the world, Debbie loves this subject. She's probably one of the preeminent experts on this subject. Debbie, welcome back.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay, before we get to some audience questions, because I know they are starting to build up, I want to talk about this subject. How did you come across writing this book? Are there a lot of UFO incidents that are happening within waterways?
I had no idea how many until I started going through all my paperwork. I was one of those that I decided, okay, April of last year, April of 2020, I thought I'm going to take this lockdown COVID time and do something that's actually, the beneficial, a time to actually gather up all the information that I have and make this lockdown time worthwhile. Not that we had really bad lockdown time, but it seemed like a lot of what I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do as far as traveling. I've been gathering information for years. Every time John Schuessler with MUFON, he's still a board member. He was executive director for a while. Anytime he came across anything water, he would send it to me. Also, Dr. Wood did the same thing. He was always sending me things or leading me in the direction of where I should be looking. Over the years, just because I am a diver and I do investigate water, people hand me things. So I decided last year, I thought, oh my gosh, I have 2 great big boxes file boxes of all this information. I have books and I have files on my computer. I'm going to get it together in one place because it just seems like what a waste of 20 years if no one ever sees it but me. And as I got into it, I couldn't believe how much I actually had. And in fact, that was a sighting. There was a sighting I had in 2006 that I had even forgot about. I was just going back through information. I thought, why did I forget about this? So that's kind of the gist behind it. I thought it's high time to do this, get this in one place, and then maybe the information that I have in there, because you just can't put everything in. I got to the point where it's going to be a small book, and I had so much in there, and it ended up being a reference book. And I thought someone can take that and they can go farther with it. But it's a beginning, or maybe someone else can do a continuation and keep it going, the investigation.
When most people think of USOs, at least for me, I think of Shag Harbor, number one. Number two, there has to be something happening around Catalina Island that is just so unexplainable that whether it's the USS Nimitz incident, the Andreasen affair, or anything along those lines, I mean, we have a lot of people seeing USOs and UFOs in that area. Are there hot spots that you noticed?
No, absolutely. And, you mentioned Catalina Island. The first documented sighting I found from Catalina Island was a couple days before Roswell in 1947. But if you think about it, there was actually in the area, you had the Battle of Los Angeles in 1942. And they tried to explain that away as being a weather balloon. But in the shots from the news, I got a newspaper article in my book, and it clearly shows something that looks like it's saucer shaped. And then all the lights, the spotlights up there. I mean, I think they had, over 1,400 shells. 5 people died from things. People were being injured, property damaged from all the shells that were shot at this thing for a weather balloon. And then, they tried to say, well, it was just nothing. Well, a weather balloon that lights reflect off of. I mean, that whole thing, it started with that. But Catalina Island, it's I went in I followed, like I said, not May, I'm sorry, back in 1947. There were a couple sightings from them. It's gone on and on and on until I believe it was in the early 1990s. They had a couple hundred different sightings in the area. I mean, there's so much that's going on. It's still going on today. And in fact, in May, I was at right on the coast there. I was in Laguna Beach. And from Laguna Beach on a clear day, you can see Catalina Island. So I'm looking off in that direction. I started talking to some of the local people there, and I went into an art studio. And I noticed that one of the pictures had all these balls of light. And it was the painting was from the coastline, but all these look like balls of light. And they said, well, that's a rendition of, I think it was that a Van Gogh, not a Van Gogh maybe, that had that back centuries ago, the same type of thing. But what intrigued me was when I made mention of it, the 2 sales ladies in there said, oh, several times they have gone outside and seen these strange balls of light over the ocean in the direction of Catalina. Unexplained lights dancing in the sky. Still going on there. But I said, did you ever report it to anybody? And they said, well, no, not really. But the one had seen it several times. Another one, she said 1 or 2 times they'll stay late at night, look off into the ocean. There's strange things going on. So that is a very, very active area. Preston Dennett, I believe, it was Preston Dennett, wrote an entire book on just Catalina Island sightings. And I've got 20 some, I believe, that I found. I lived in the area for about a year and a half. And so I've been gathering up sightings for a long time. Another place, Puerto Rico. Oh, my goodness. There's so much going on there. I spoke to Jorge Martin, who's the investigator there. He's got a great website. And the sightings there are just, well, they have a assigned extraterrestrial highway on the island. So what does that tell you? Lake Cartagena has sightings. There's reports of craft coming in and out. Ponce, he's got sightings on his website that it looks like there's a wormhole opening up and craft coming in and out. I found all in that whole Caribbean area. I have several sightings that are from cruise ships that are in the Caribbean, including, one of my own. So that's two, just right off the top of my head, two very, very active areas. One Atlantic, one Pacific.
Is it just a matter of salt water, or are we seeing a lot of happenings within freshwater lakes and rivers as well?
I don't think it's necessarily just salt water, because there's a lot of sightings in and around the Great Lakes, which are freshwater. Also Lake Baikal in Russia, there's sightings there of creatures. The reason for salt water, it's deep. You got deep water trenches. What a great place to hide. You can go a couple miles down. The submarines believe, from what is in the public, collapsible depth is 2,400 feet. Running depth is 1,600 feet. The trenches, a couple mile deep trenches. So great place to hide. There's trenches off of Guantanamo Bay. You've got deep trenches off of in the Pacific Ocean. So I think that might be it. It's deep, deep water. There's 70% of the Earth is covered by water, and according to NOAA, we've only explored 5%. As far as lakes, there's things. Clearwater Lake, February 1973, here in Missouri, Clearwater Lake, there was a sighting of a craft that was hovering over. That started the whole Piedmont thing. So if anybody's familiar with Piedmont in the 70s and the UFO flap, where else? I mean, the sightings that I'm working on now, that I really rather not talk about the area because it's still an ongoing investigation. But I'm investigating a river area that we have sightings coming in out of. This has been ongoing since about March or April of 2000 and I think it would be 2019, March or maybe 2018, because I took up the sighting, I believe, the end of the fall of the year or winter of the year of 2018 into 19, 20, 21. We're still working the sighting. So it's water, whether, I don't think it matters if it's fresh. I think in fresher water, maybe there's something that they may be using the water for, maybe quick hiding, harvesting, whether it's hydrogen, plankton, that type of thing. But I think as far as if you're going to have a base, you're going to have a place where they're coming in and out of the water with a wormhole or whatever means they're coming back and forth to the Earth, or whether or not they're permanently here, which I bring up in my book. That would be deep water, oceans, and seas.
What kind of craft are people seeing coming out of water?
Oh, gosh, just about everything. I mean, you had the Tic Tac. There's a triangle-shaped craft, round craft, rectangle-shaped craft. You name it, there's just about everything. Completely round. There were the ones, the craft that was sighted in Puerto Rico over the airport, and then going in out of the water and then split. That's been a few years ago. So I don't think, that's something else too. It's not just one race of alien beings. There are numerous races of alien beings, and so you can't categorize everything together. You were saying, well, why? What is it more? Ocean, more lakes, that type of thing. I think it depends on the alien race, whether or not what their agenda is to, whether they're exploring something that's going on in the lakes, or whether they've got a base underwater, or whether they're accessing wormholes or whatever underwater, deep water. But even, the craft, they don't all have to be the same.
Do you think these craft are manned by aliens?
That's hard. The reports that I've had, not necessarily. It could be, once again, it could be the race of aliens. It could be aliens with some type of a drone. It was funny that Stanton Friedman had told me one time, he said he talks to people and they have no problem believing in UFOs. What they have a problem with is believing in alien beings. And he said, so I asked people one time. He did this one person in particular. He said, okay, so it's an alien craft, but there aren't alien beings. Well, how is it moving? And this person said, well, it's a remote control. And he said, who's working the remote control? Who built this thing? And he said, it really threw them. They just couldn't wrap their mind around an alien being. But some of them could very well be. I know the Roswell crash, that there were alien beings involved. I've had sightings where people have actually seen beings you have Rendlesham as another one where their beings were seen, where they've actually been low enough that they've seen somebody inside the craft. I don't know. It's some of them, I believe, sure, they're being absolutely flown by different races of beings.
With these craft, do you think they're using the water to hide? Or do you think they're actual underwater bases that they are coming from?
Yeah, it depends on the alien being. Because, like you're saying, you're asking one question. Do you think it's this or you think it's this? It's probably both. It's probably everything. I would just say, just from the descriptions, there's been anywhere from people saying there's 25 different races of aliens to I've heard as much as 160 different races of aliens. If you go all the way back to biblical time and the descriptions of some of those descriptions through history from different countries and saying this description doesn't even match this description, there are a lot. We've been visited for centuries and centuries and centuries. And it's not by the same beings. So the agendas are different. There could be some beings that are here to gather fish life, plankton, whatever. There could be some here that are harvesting our hydrogen. There are some like a Shag Harbor. That was an accident. They came down, crashed in the water in Shag Harbor, moved down the coast. I believe it was 20 miles down the coast. Another craft came in a couple days later, helped them repair, and back up into space they went. They could have been just going by, had mechanical problems, if you want to make it simple, and said, we're going to go land in that blue planet. We're going to hide in the water until we can call for help. Something as simple as that. I don't think they had any intentions of going down there. I believe it was an accident. Roswell was two different craft that during between the combination of the thunderstorms that were happening, and I've been there during these intense thunderstorms in a tent, and they're pretty intense. Between that and our microwave radar, and from the explosion from the witnesses, I believe two craft crashed together and went off into different directions. So that was something that was never supposed to happen. There were, alien beings recovered from both of the craft that they found. And that's just, we know that there were at least two different craft that were found with alien beings just from the reports and the locations. I've done a couple archaeology digs there, so I'm pretty familiar with the area. I've investigated that for 20 years. So we know that we don't even know what they were there for. We think it was probably because of white sands, because of the nuclear testing in the area. That's something totally different than what happened in Shag Harbor. We know that there's reports of alien beings, 10-foot tall alien beings in Russia, in the Baltic Sea. They've been seen in the Baltic Sea, Lake Baikal. That's something totally different. They're down there and have been seen. But you can't put one description on the multiple sightings because there's multiple beings, multiple agendas, and these beings are from multiple places. And, I've been explaining that to people that's another reason, too, for the confusion, that it's complicated. We're taking all this evidence and putting it all together and then trying to make it fit, and it doesn't fit because it's different people, different circumstances, different races.
I like Vinny's question here. He says, with all the drought in the world, has there been decreases in reports from water bodies that have severely dropped in water levels? Has that ever been studied?
I was watching a video on Lake Mead. I've been there. Wow, that thing's almost dry. As far as sighting reports, no. I'm still getting reports from the river that I've been investigating, and there's times where it's really low, and there's times when it's really high. And I'm almost thinking that it has to do with the caves that are near the water in that area. I don't believe the water level is going to make any difference. As far as the rest, most of the sightings like Catalina Island, that's ocean. That's not really been affected at all by droughts. Neither has the Caribbean. I don't believe anything there has been affected. I've heard for years, we had a condo in the Florida Keys for a while, and everybody kept saying, oh, pretty soon the Keys are just going to be, covered up by water because the water levels are rising because the poles are melting. So if anything, I think maybe some of the places the water is rising, but I think in the shallow areas, I don't remember a whole lot of reports. I mostly work Missouri reports. I don't know a whole lot of what goes on in Nevada with Lake Mead. But directly, no. I think if I was an alien being and there was a problem with the water, the Earth, 70% of the water, 70% of the water, move. Go someplace else. They can get there in a blink of an eye, probably.
Very true. Very true in that. We have about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is our guest tonight. We're talking USOs, unidentified submersible objects. This is where we're going with this. Is this just a sighting where we're getting a lot of reports out of North America because of the popularity of this, or is this a phenomena that is literally happening worldwide?
Oh, it's happening worldwide, and I think reports, the internet has a lot to do with it. Shows like yours, YouTube, there's so much information out there. People are sharing information that it was there all along. I mean, MUFON's been around since 1969, and there was boxes and boxes and boxes of reports that we're trying to get personal information redacted and get them to the public. So all of it's been out there for years, but it's the difference now, like mail. You can order something from Amazon and get it tomorrow. But look what happened, like a couple hundred years ago, you had the Pony Express. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Everybody's got a camera on their cell phone, and everybody's got a cell phone, including young children. So the information, it's easier to travel. The avenues for it. I mean, growing up when I was a kid, I think there were 3 TV channels. Now there's just so many places to gather information and so many people that if you have an interest in something, it's all you have to do is just look. And you can look for a year and not gather up everything because new things are still coming up. So I think we live in a great time of a wealth of information.
Bama is asking, do you think the aliens are flooding the tunnels with water?
What tunnels?
Well, the waterways that have tunnels connected to them. You had mentioned tunnels moments ago, that maybe that's where a lot of the water was coming from to fill the lakes.
No, not tunnels. Caves. Do I think? No, I really doubt. You mean, that's what's causing the drought? No, I really don't think so. I think that's just the Earth is a growing, living thing. We had an ice age before. We've had droughts. We had droughts back in remember the Dust Bowl era. I wasn't alive for that, but none of us were. But they've had dust bowls. We've had ice ages. Things just constantly change. I don't think the alien races are doing anything to alter the Earth for their convenience.
Very cool. Very cool. Do we have any incidents? We got about 40 seconds left. Do we have any incidents where these USOs have come in contact with any type of ship or craft or submarine?
I don't know. A couple of weeks ago, wasn't there one of our submarines hit something underwater? I thought that was interesting. Did damage to it. They were doing during maneuvers and
Kraken.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there have been, but 40 seconds. I don't know. I have to stop and think about it a little bit.
We can continue. Time. No, we'll continue that question. That was a big question to ask, and I'll continue that one when we return. And we're going to take some more audience questions when we come back here. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking underwater UFOs. Why? Because she has a brand new book out. It can be found on Amazon. The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity. You're going to want to check it on out. Have you seen an unidentified submerged object? Maybe it's me swimming under the water. I don't know. But it's scary nonetheless. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear.
Yeah, weren't there was a submarine a couple of weeks ago on maneuvers, and they were I don't remember, it's like 12:30 in the morning or something here, but seemed like was in the Caspian Sea, if I remember right. But anyway, they hit something and had to surface and damaged, and they didn't pick it. Strange, they didn't even pick it up on sonar. I thought that was just really odd.
Very odd. That was in China.
Yeah. Remember. Was it
in the Gulf between China and Taiwan?
Yeah. And they were doing maneuvers out there with other countries.
Yes.
A lot of a lot of ships, a lot of submarines. But it just seems to me if they hit another submarine, there would have been 2 damaged submarines. If
Very true.
Even a whale they can pick up on sonar. So what the heck did they hit?
Megalodon.
Yeah. It's yeah.
I'm just telling you. It's what it seems like. Megalodon took a bite out of the nose of that submarine.
Yeah. Ships have hit things. Not real often. Not that they're reported, but ships have seen a lot just from the logs that I have a whole chapter of just log reports from ships, from merchant ships, cargo ships, Navy ships, fishing vessels, and they're out of ship logs of unidentified sightings. Most of them try and describe them as being, well, maybe it's a satellite, this or that or whatever. A couple of them came right out and said there was a UFO. I thought, whoa, those were both military ships. So there's a lot of stuff out there in the ocean.
Very true. Very true. Well, it's amazing what's going on out there. I just would prefer not to go in there and see anything. That would just make me happy. Until you do it, I was terrified of water. That's why I kind of laughed when I said my husband and my son thought it was great to get me dive gear and pay for my dive lessons. And my first open water dive, I passed out at 22 feet deep, passed out cold, I hyperventilated. And it made me so mad that I could be that afraid of anything that I went back the next weekend and not only passed my open water, I signed up for the advanced, kept going class after class. It's where I met my son-in-law, and who wasn't my son-in-law at the time. He ended up being my son-in-law, and he was my dive buddy. And before I knew it, I was an instructor. So you can overcome your fears, because I was someone that was terrified of water, and now I'm a scuba instructor. Very true. Yeah, not going there. You're not going to get me.
Yeah.
You're not going to get me. I'm just telling you that right now. Simon, again, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate that super chat, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. We got about 90 seconds. Got a bunch of questions coming up for you here. What was I going to ask you right after the break?
I don't know. We were talking about something that hit underwater, if anything's ever collided, but I don't think past that ship. We were talking about things that, boats or submarines or anything have bumped into anything underwater.
Yeah, anything that sinks. Vinman wants to know, how deep have you dived?
About 145 feet. I'm not supposed to go below 130, but I was in Cozumel coming out of a cave, and we ended up at about 145.
Oh, my goodness. Pressure's got to be brutal on the body at that.
No, not really. I can tell when I hit 80 feet, I know, because I feel pressure on my chest.
Right.
But no, not really.
All right, I want to say a big thank you to Simon, to Alicia, Apollo, Jenny, Cherry Pepsi, Mike, Manny, Jason, Kira, Ozzy Ange, Kat, Chris, Thomas, and Surf Jer for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate it. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very much. Thank you to all the veterans out there on Veterans Day and Remembrance Day here in Canada and around the world for your wonderful giving for your service and the sacrifices you've made for our freedoms. We really do appreciate that. Much love to all of you, and thank you for tuning us in. You always have a safe home here in our Spaced Out Radio chat rooms. And here we go, everyone. Second half of the show starting right now. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you, if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with MUFON Board of Director on their board, I should say, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, hanging on out with us. We're talking underwater UFOs. She has a beautiful new book out on Amazon called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity. And we're going to continue along that line before we get to some audience questions again. Debbie, welcome back.
Thank you for having me out. Having me this late. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you staying up late. For you, as right before the break, I was asking about, underwater collisions. Are you getting a lot of reports from ships and people who are sailing not only on giant vessels, whether it's aircraft carriers or cargo ships, but even sailboats going across the Great Lakes or tugboats going downriver?
Not really. I think I mentioned quickly that there was a submarine that hit something underwater a couple weeks ago. That was maneuvers off of China. It was a military training maneuvers with several ships, several countries involved. And I just thought it was kind of odd that they damaged the submarine, hit something underwater that didn't get picked up by sonar. They didn't hit another submarine. Otherwise, there would have been a second submarine damaged. You could pick up a whale underwater on sonar, so I thought it was just a little odd. Somebody hit something. I'm not going to say it's a UFO, but I just thought it was a little odd. Not necessarily, though, hitting anything in the water. I've had several reports. One of them is actually fairly a public report from Mark D'Antonio that talks about fast movers underwater and how sometimes sonar operators on a submarine will come across something that moves across their screen really fast, faster than any craft can travel underwater and any type of any marine life. So there are fast movers that have been logged, and I've heard several reports on that. The only thing that I've heard that's really odd that has to do with water and that type of thing causing ships to sink is Lake Michigan. There's a Michigan Triangle, and there are more than a normal amount for an area of ships that go down. In that triangle, a lot of ships have gone down. Some of them say it has to do with storms and tsunamis. But Otis Redding he sang the song Dock of the Bay. Most people don't realize that he was traveling across Lake Michigan from one concert to another. He's going to be doing a concert in Wisconsin, and as his plane was maybe at about 2,500 foot, they were just going along. He and band members, also from another band, just going along, and it just went straight down. They were radioing in, everything was fine, and then the engines just cut out, and they crashed. I think there was only one survivor out of that. So there's electromagnetic fields of some type. There's the Alaska Triangle. There's also a triangle off of Japan, Dragon's Triangle, and of course there's the Bermuda Triangle. So Bermuda's not the only one. And of course, ships have gone down in the Bermuda Triangle without a lot of explanation. Planes, ships, but as far as hitting something underwater, I'm not really sure.
All right, let's move on here, as I want to get to a bunch of audience questions. They are stacking up. We're going to start off with Nicole here, who is asking, do you have any thoughts on the combination of earthquakes and UFO sightings?
Yes. We have the New Madrid Fault here in Missouri. And Missouri, as far as population, I mean, we're always in the top 10 for the amount of sightings that we have. We had a UFO flap 2011 and 12. And during the months of August and September of 2011, we had more sightings than any place else in the world. We have earthquakes. Every other day, there's at least a small earthquake. Usually, there are 1 point something. The largest lately has been a 4 point on the Richter scale. But yes, I believe so. We're studying that. We're trying to figure out why we have so many sightings in the area, and we've come to the conclusion that the one thing that we have that's different is we're the cave state. We have a lot of lead mines, and we have the New Madrid Fault, which is supposed to be more active than the San Andreas. So I believe there might be something, maybe that's some of what is attracting this.
All right, let's continue on here with some audience questions, because I know they are building up very, very much here. And let's go to Max here, who is asking, is anyone guessing about underwater drones? Could this one be what we're dealing with?
Yeah, and that too. We had it was in Beacon Beach. That was one of the top cases from 2020, and it was talked about at the MUFON Symposium. We were wondering about underwater drones. It was somebody that was watching surf footage. You can go online, and there's places that you can look live cameras looking at the ocean, pointed toward the ocean, and surfers access that so they know what the waves are like. That way, they know where the best surf is. And somebody, I believe it was from Indiana, accessed one of those, looking at it, was going to take a trip out there. And they picked up a light. And we figured out that it was a drone. We don't believe it actually went underwater. It was skimming across the top. But I did research on that. And for as cheap as $1,200, they have drones online. And they were taking them from the surface. And then they were going underwater and going, around the swimming pool and then coming back up. And that was just for $1,200. So I don't know how deep they can go, but these were run by a remote control above and below water.
All right. Obi wants to know, Debbie, what are your thoughts on the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Let's see. Baltic Sea. The aliens that are underwater in the Baltic Sea, because I know that there was a submarine at, I believe, about 1,200 feet that saw a 10-foot tall alien in a silver suit. But there's also been a lot of sightings in the Baltic Sea. Oh, the Baltic Sea too. There was also, it looked like it was picked up from the International Space Station, and there were 2 circles that were found. I think it was just odd. I think that's in my book. Just there's odd things. There are a lot of sightings in the Baltic Sea, and we don't get a lot of reports because that's over near Russia. But what did I think about it? I thought it was an interesting anomaly.
All right, Nicole is wondering, do you think the lost city of Atlantis was an alien base?
I've never been asked that before. The lost city of Atlantis. Maybe no. I don't know if the lost city of Atlantis, I believe, from what research I've done, was sunk by maybe an earthquake and a tsunami, and they're not even sure where it is. If it would have been an alien base, the lost city was originally, I believe, on Earth and then sunk. So it wasn't a base that started out underwater.
All right.
Not that I know of.
Kaiju is asking, has there ever been any underwater alien encounters?
Yes, that's what I was mentioning, was in Russia. I believe they were the equivalent of Navy SEALs, Russians, and they were in Lake Baikal, and I believe that was 1992. There were 7 of them that went underwater training depth and came across 4 alien beings. They came back up after a couple days. They discussed, naturally, if you're that deep, it's dark, you got a flashlight, you're like, whoa. They came back up, discussed with their superiors what they should do, and it was decided that they would go back down and try and capture one of them. Went back down a couple days later. There were, I believe, 4 aliens, one of them standing more to the front like the leader. 2 of these Russian Navy divers took a net and tried to put it over the top of this alien being, and he put his hand straight out. They all, 7 of them, immediately went to the surface. Believe 3 of them died right off. They took the other 4, took them to decompression chambers, and only one was working. They put all 4 of the survivors in one decompression chamber, and only one survived. So that's just one instance right there. There were also the one that was seen by the submarine. There was also somebody, I believe, also in Lake Baikal that happened to see a being swimming just under, like a 10-foot tall being just swimming right underneath the surface of the water. So that's one of the more famous encounters of beings in the water.
Oh my goodness. That would see another reason why now not to go in lakes. Okay? People, I'm telling you, there's nothing good underwater. Nothing good.
No, you just haven't been there.
No. Anyways, Smokin' Joe would like to know, what is your typical log entry or sound like? This sounds interesting.
My typical sound?
Log entry.
Log entry, I'm not exactly sure what that means. My typical log entries sound. I mean, you mean for alien being log sounds?
Yes.
Oh, the most interesting that I had was August 4th, 2011. Was it August? No, I'm sorry. Maybe it was August 4th, 2011. I was one of those people that heard that strange sound. Do you remember that worldwide? My husband and I were sleeping 3:00 in the morning. We heard this loud banging. We went running outside, looking up at the sky. It was kind of a hazy sky. Couldn't see anything. It switched to a different kind of a weird sound. And then I came in and got a tape recorder, went back outside, and it sounded like a noise that's made while you're underwater, kind of like a boom, 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 boom. And I got about 2 minutes of that, and it just flat out just stopped. It just stopped as quick as it started. Darndest thing, I talked to the police dispatch. It was just overrun. 3:00 in the morning, and there's lights coming on all over the neighborhood. Talked to the police dispatch, and I have a friend who's a police officer, and he put me right through to the gal that was on dispatch. And she said, well, they told me to tell everybody that it was the MSD sewer plant up the street, and they had a turbine that went out. Except that turbine, she said, it's kind of funny. She said, that's 6 miles away. And she said, all the calls we got were within a 1/4 mile of my house. And I went over there where the turbine was to the MSD plant. It's a sewer plant, and nobody over there heard anything.
Weird. Very weird. Okay, let's continue on. Block Chic wants to know, how is echolocation different than LiDAR?
I have no idea. I'm not sure what either one of them are.
Not a problem. Neither do I, because I don't go in water.
Echo. I guess echo would be the light. Echo would probably be echo sound. LiDAR would probably be some type of radar, maybe. I don't know. I'm a diver. Does MUFON upgrade its investigative instrumental?
Max is asking, does MUFON
Yeah.
upgrade its investigative instrumentation for underwater?
Upgrade. MUFON doesn't have it. How MUFON is made up of volunteers, and we all buy our own underwater investigating equipment or above water investigating equipment. We all buy our own equipment, basically. MUFON doesn't buy us equipment. So they don't really have any underwater equipment. I do. I have an underwater metal detector. I have a little underwater sonar thing that I bought that really doesn't work. The best thing, though, for underwater trying to detect a large anomaly, and I did training on that, was any diver knows that you use your compass. If you point your compass at something that's metal, especially something large metal, it's going to give you a false north. So we trained in that. We thought if we know that there's a craft underwater, you put your compass out, it'll lead you right to it. But mostly when we do underwater investigations, we don't use our compass. If we're looking for something underwater, you have to use rope search techniques because your compass is trying to pick up metal and you'll get a false north on it.
Interesting. All right. Let's move on here as we still have a bunch of questions from our audience. Smokin' Joe wants to know, Debbie, have you investigated the possible use of RF frequencies or radio frequency with any of your cases?
Yes. We use everything, anything we can come across. If we're able to get that, yes. But what we're using right now is MADAR. We have 5 different MADAR boxes in the state of Missouri now. MADAR is this this gentleman, and I've been told before, that I probably shouldn't be bringing up names, but the MADAR, you can go online, MADAR, and order your own. It's fairly inexpensive. You put it in the house, you hook it up to your Ethernet on your internet box, and it picks up EMF in the area. And all of these are reported to Peter Davenport's site, National UFO Recording Center. You can go on there, and I believe my MADAR is number 25, but we're all numbered across the country. So I compare correlating cases with that. I'll go on that website and see if anybody has picked up anything in that area and that, any of the MADAR hits, and correlate them with the cases that we investigate. So we use that tool. We have been using that a lot more and more lately.
All right. Apollo 11 is asking, has anyone from MUFON been intimidated by any MIB type group to stay quiet?
There's people that are always intimidated. In MUFON, I have a couple people in Missouri that were told to back off and not go in that area, whether or not they were MIBs. I know that one of my very first, right after I became a state director in 2009, right off, I got an email, and it was a case that was just so off the wall. It was ridiculous, and when I read the email address to email them back, it was becauseIcan.usgov. And I thought, oh, really? So I just deleted it, but I didn't even answer them back. I've been followed home a couple times. I was followed home all the way from Scammon, Kansas to Imperial, Missouri. I was followed home one time from Kansas City because I was talking to Stan Romanek. We were both speakers at a conference, and I got followed all the way back to St. Louis from Kansas City. It was only 4 hours, but I've never really been intimidated. I had a guy named John that used to call me and just talk and tell me about sightings. And I knew who he was when we had the World Series going on in St. Louis. And he was telling me he was such a big baseball fan, and he was coaching his son's team and telling me about these sightings. And I said, yeah, who are you? And he said, what? And I said, you know what? You're such a big baseball fan. You live here in Missouri. I said, the Cardinals right now are in the middle of the World Series. I'm trying to watch the darn game. You obviously have no interest in baseball. So, but I mean, as far as life-threatening, not that I know of.
All right, let's continue on here. Audience questions for our guest, Debbie Ziegelmeyer. We got 5 minutes left before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. And Cat Chaser wants to know, what do you think really happened under Shag Harbor?
Oh, I believe a craft was probably going by the planet. Something had mechanical problems, ended up landing there, hiding out, and waiting for assistance, which came about 2-3 days later, and off they went. They're going to have a great conference. I believe it's the first weekend of October 2022 in Shag Harbor. They're actually going to go back to the site where this happened. So that's going to be a great conference to go to.
Do you think that the military divers actually saw aliens working on the craft underneath the water?
No, yeah, I talked to Chris Stiles, and yeah, I absolutely believe so. He's got enough witnesses. I talked to him just a few days ago, and he said that he's got even new witnesses about what's happened. The thing he's still finding witnesses, but yeah, I believe so. I believe they went underwater. They saw some aliens working on the craft. You know, that was such an interesting sighting. He even had a Russian submarine showed up at the site to find out what was going on.
Yeah. Well, that one still amazes me, though. Honestly, I think it's one of my favorite cases that just, there isn't enough digging. We know people are digging in on it, but there just isn't enough, coverage of it as like a Roswell or something. Because, I mean, you think Roswell, great, we had the crash there, potential aliens, but this one had almost 1,000 witnesses come forward. I mean, this is a lot of people, from military to public to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I mean, everybody was standing on shore watching this to see what was going on.
Chris is still investigating it, even as of a couple of days ago when I talked to him. So absolutely, there is still something going on. And they tried to have the conference last year. They tried to have it this year. It's moved now, and he's really excited about that. We believe it. It's finally gonna go through. All the borders, everything are open. But I believe it's the first weekend. It's set right now for, I believe, the first weekend in October, and right there in Shag Harbor, they're going to have a great UFO conference.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Harold is coming into the chat room for the first time. Welcome, Harold. Do you think there's anything to Russia Special Forces finding the group of aliens under the water? I mean, we talked about that just a few minutes ago. But do you think that this is happening more often than not?
Well, I know from the report that I found that after that incident happened, there was a big investigation. There was a committee of people that talked about that, and they decided they wouldn't train. They're not diving in those lakes anymore. But I believe they absolutely have. I would think that there's some type of a task force that's investigating underwater aliens, especially since they lost divers. I can't believe that they would just totally let it go, but I believe if they were going to go underwater and investigate, they wouldn't send divers. They'd probably send a sub or a mini sub. Just seems to me, I don't think they would let it go that easy.
No, you just don't do that. I mean, that'd be so cool to figure what out. That would be so cool. Jim is asking, as we got about 90 seconds left. Hi, Debbie. Are there any tows, hums, like sounds in the oceans?
Odd sounds. I've heard that from some people that have been in submarines, and they've picked up some odd sounds. I found some reports where there were odd sounds, odd lights, unexplained lights traveling underwater at incredible speeds. So you don't see a lot of it. It's hard to get any reports from submarines because that's all military submarines. But I'm finding things logged little by little.
All right, Tony in the United Kingdom is asking, have you ever heard of a diver disappearing due to alien abduction?
Oh, a diver? No, I haven't. Never thought about that, but no, not yet. But you never know. I mean, but no, I haven't heard of a diver that's been abducted from underwater. I've heard of reports of people that have been taken to underwater bases.
Weird. And finally, final question before we hit the top of the hour. How many minutes apart in being updated is the MUFON UFO Stalker live tracker?
Oh, wow, I don't know that. Sorry. That's technical stuff. There's people that take care of the website. Honestly, I'm so busy trying to investigate MUFON sightings in Missouri that being the state director, I focus on the state of Missouri, and then there's people with their own specialties that they focus on the website and get all that stuff going. And I really don't know. I can find out.
Well,
if I get asked again, I'll know.
All right, Debbie, we got you for another half an hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking UFOs, USOs, any type of UAP report. We're going to get into it. We got audience questions as well, so stay tuned. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio continues after this. Then at the bottom of the hour, it's going to be Dave 101, Experiencers Speak, when we return on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear? Fantastic show. You having fun?
Oh, yeah, I'm losing my voice a little. This time change. Wow.
Oh, I hate it.
Daylight savings time. Well, I usually get up at 7, so I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. So here now what is this here now? It's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. You know,
I've been up for 19 hours.
British Columbia, Washington, California, and Oregon have all voted to eliminate daylight savings, but they're waiting for the U.S. government to approve it.
Yeah, this whole theory that it's farmers. Farmers out here said we have nothing to do with daylight savings time. They said we get up in the morning and it doesn't matter if dawn is at 8 o'clock or at 3 o'clock in the morning. They get up with the sun and do the crops, and changing the time makes them no difference at all.
Oh, I hate it.
And then the schools are saying the same thing. That doesn't make any difference. It's not for the school kids not to stand out there in the dark for the school buses. The time the school bus shows up, it's already light. No, nobody knows why we're doing this. There's no good reason, and nobody likes it. I'm waiting for somebody to finally just say enough is enough is enough and just stop it.
I think that's all you have to do on an election platform is run with I'm getting rid of daylight savings time.
Oh yeah,
good.
They're in.
You are so voted in. Doesn't matter how corrupt you are.
No, we don't care. Yeah, get rid of
don't
daylight
care.
savings
Just
time.
get rid of daylight savings time, and that's it.
Yeah, I think the state by state we should just do like Arizona. I don't think they change, do they? Just say we're not doing it. Enough states just say we're not going to do it.
Yeah,
that's one way to stop it.
It's like Saskatchewan up here; they don't change for anything. But then again, they're flat earthers over there. So,
I actually met a flat earther on my last UFO investigation. I couldn't believe it. He's like in his late 40s, early maybe mid 50s. He's total flat earther. And I said, "Well, what's your theory?" And he says it's kind of like you go along the earth. And I said, well, how do you get to the other side? And so he said, it's almost like you walk through, like on Star Trek, or like you're going through a Stargate. And then when you walk into it, you just come out the other side. And I said, well, you mean kind of like Pac-Man? You know how Pac-Man, and you go out the one side and then you come in the other? He goes, yep. I don't know.
I don't know either, man. All right. It's dying here right now. My wrist is killing me.
Oh.
It's like day 6 in a row. Or day 5, I've had pain like shooting from my fingers right down to here. And
CBD cream.
I'm trying everything right now, and nothing is stopping it.
Try CBD.
I do have some upstairs. I'll give that a try if I can find it.
And my son owns a CBD business.
Very cool. See if I can calm it down. It's like, come on already. Stop. Enough. We got about 2 minutes here.
This time has gone fast.
I told you it would.
Yeah.
That'll be our next question there. Just scrolling down.
Oh, that's a good question. Possibly.
We want to thank Alien Probe Master for coming in and lubing us up for tonight's show. Thank you. We appreciate it. And who else we got here? Anybody else come on in that I missed? Don't worry, I'll get to your questions. Ross Lambda, good to see you. Boogeyman Channel, what's happening? All right. What else do we got here? Apollo 11, thank you for another amazing super chat. Really appreciate that. And, geez, Aussie Steve again. Holy cow. You must have hit the lottery, man. Where are you? Right there. Or Aussie Simon, sorry. Aussie Simon, again. Holy cow. Appreciate that, man. All right. We've got about 35 seconds. Big thank you to Simon for a bunch of super chats tonight. Big thank you to Alicia, Apollo, Jenny, Mike, that's Cherry Pepsi Mike, Manny, Jason, Kira, Aussie Ange, Cat Chaser, Chris, Thomas, Mark, Obi, Surf Jer, they're a great veteran. Yeah, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And love the love and support you guys are giving us. Thank you so much. And we're going to get back to some questions here for Debbie Ziegelmeyer here in about 5 seconds. Don't stay tuned for the Dave 101 at the bottom of the hour. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We have Fandangle. Fandangle is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, following us on and checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We'll have new videos there very, very shortly. For the final time tonight, Debbie Ziegelmeyer is our guest. She is part of MUFON's board of directors. She's author of a brand new book just out called The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO water-related activity. Debbie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate you.
And thank you to everybody for staying up late and listening. I appreciate it.
All right, let's start off with more audience questions. Nicola is wondering, do you think that these craft come from a water world and live here in our waters?
Possibly. I never thought about that before. That's actually very possible. Also, too, who's to know that when I was talking about the alien beings, they're near around Russia. How do we know that they're not human? Maybe they've lived there. Maybe they came to this planet centuries ago, and I guess they're now residents. They're not necessarily visitors, which is another thing that I bring up in the book, because we talk a lot about all these beings being visitors, but they've been here for a while. And I think they've more become residents. They've colonized our planet. At least the ones that are underwater there in Russia, we know for sure.
All right. Apollo wants to know, what do you know about the supposed base, alien or human, off the coast of Malibu?
I was in the middle of that investigation, and it was assigned to somebody else. Unfortunately, that person wasn't a scuba diver. I would have probably gone about it in a different manner, but I know for sure that it's been supposed that that's nothing, that it's just a natural phenomenon, except for the fact that one of my investigators here, Lynn Mann, who's she is also the technical analyst for our MUFON lab. She's our lab technician, and she looked around and she found the same type of thing on Google Earth right off the coast of Japan, almost identical. And it just seems to me that that's just a little bit too coincidental. I think that if it's not a base, it was probably something that was abandoned. With all the sightings that there are, there was a sample of something that was taken off of it, which naturally on the top of it is coral or something built up. We had a boat in the Florida Keys, and every 2 weeks we'd have to clean the bottom of the boat. I think it could have been investigated. Still should be investigated a little bit more thoroughly. But yeah, I don't think that's anything that's a natural phenomenon.
All right. Apollo wants to know, I already said that. Simon wants to know, is there a MUFON in Australia where he is?
I believe there is. I'm not sure. I can sure if he wants to email me at, well, you know what? He can go, I'll tell you what, go on the MUFON website, MUFON.com, and you can look up, it'll say chapters, and then it'll say international chapters, and you'll be able to find not only if there is one, but if there is, there'll be contact information.
All right, let's continue on with some audience questions here and see where we're going with this. And Kaiju wants to know, have presidents ever been asked publicly about UFOs, ETs, and if so, what have been their responses?
Well, we know that Jimmy Carter he had a sighting. We also, I know that they asked President Obama, I believe that was, I don't know if that was Jimmy Kimmel or if that was David Letterman, but could even have been Jay Leno. I mean, the talk show host. He used to do all the talk show host, but he was asked about it and kind of gave an answer what wasn't directly a no. I know recently President Trump was asked, and he said that wasn't anything that he said there's people out there that believe in that type of thing. He really didn't have much of an opinion and kind of brushed it off. So when they get the chance, people actually absolutely do ask. May not be the answer we want to hear, but they've been publicly asked. I think probably just about every president that has been asked, if they go on a talk show, one of the ones that I had mentioned, especially now, I think if you go on Jimmy Kimmel, that's the first thing he's going to ask a president if they go on.
Flippity wants to know, are USOs slower in the water?
No, I don't believe so. They can go pretty fast. I don't know, slower than what exactly, but they're extremely faster than we are. They come in and out of our atmosphere with ease, and they go through the water at high rates of speed with ease. And I believe Carl Feint, who passed away not too long ago, was an expert on water. He studied that, and he believes that electromagnetic field that's around the craft, that protects the craft, that they never actually touch the atmosphere because of that electromagnetic field that all the investigators know about, the thing that shuts off cars and blinks lights. And you know about that type of thing if you ever watched the movie Close Encounters, and the lights and everything flickered, that they're covered with, they've got this protection. They come in and out of our atmosphere without a sonic boom. They go through the water with ease because the craft isn't actually touching the water. It's surrounded by this electromagnetic field. That was Carl Feint's theory.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Okay, let's continue on here on Spaced Out Radio. Harold is wondering, do you think these alien craft are using water to power themselves?
I believe some of them may be. I know that NASA, since Mercury craft have been using fuel cells that were powered. They've been using fuel cells and nitrogen I'm sorry, not nitrogen. I'm sorry, it's 1:00 in the morning here. Hydrogen, water, H2O. You got hydrogen. You can take, and NASA has used hydrogen in their fuel cells to power from Mercury on, till I don't know when, but Mercury, Apollo craft. Fuel cells can be recharged. They're rechargeable indefinitely from the use of hydrogen that you can gather from the atmosphere, from water, but they're rechargeable. I know I'm kind of babbling now. I'm sorry a little bit, but yes, okay. I believe they could be harvesting our hydrogen from the water to repower or replenish their fuel cells. I believe they're doing that.
Flippity is wondering, have there ever been crashed USOs and crash evidence of USO material?
Crashed USOs and craft evidence of UFO material? USOs? Well, I don't know if we ever found it at Shag Harbor, for one. There should be some pieces under there someplace that we're all hoping to find. And as far as material found, there's been lots of supposedly crafted material found. I know when my brother and I were on an archaeology dig in 2002, we found something that was unidentified. It had, I believe it was an unidentified polymer, but it was a really high content of aluminum with a little bit of silicon. And it was a small triangle-shaped silver object that we found it at about 10 centimeters of dirt. But let's see, as far as underwater, yeah, I believe there probably is. I'm sure there, like you said, there probably is small pieces of something left over from Shag Harbor even now.
All right. Alien Critter wants to know, what is the scariest sea creature you have seen diving?
Scariest. I don't know if any of them are really scary. Probably the scariest would be the eel. And I believe, I forgot where that was that I was diving. Was it maybe the Caymans? It was this giant eel, and I believe they named it Kermit, and its head was huge. I was going along, it was in a tugboat, and I'm diving along, and I thought, they're saying, okay, it's in there. They signaled, told us where to look for it, and I saw this big, wide something. I'm like, that thing's really big. And I came around, and its head stuck out the corner. It was bigger than like a python. I mean, the thing was huge. Big teeth. But it looked at us. They've named it, so I guess that would probably be the scariest creature, because I thought if that thing came out, I wouldn't have a chance. It would swallow me whole.
You didn't see my ex-mother-in-law, did you? Because that would have really scared you. Really scared you. All right, over on Twitch, Boogeyman Channel is asking, on the night, 25 people across YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and the likes all caught an entity riding around on the back of the moon. This was the only moon in the sky, and it was the moon that was supposed to be up in the sky. Is this something that has been reported to MUFON before?
Mostly what we get are reports from states, things that happen within your state. And so if we get reports from the moon, something that's happened, I mean, of course, we're naturally interested, and we may personally investigate them further. But anything that doesn't happen in your state, something that's seen, it's more hearsay, and then we put that as insufficient data or as information. Basically, that would be information only. It's not something we can physically investigate, and it's more hearsay.
Right.
I mean, even though they may see that on there, we don't know if it's not something that's been manufactured.
Right. G. West is asking, if they are in our waters because they're from a water world, does that mean the UFOs we are seeing are actually their submarines? I hope that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think necessarily of submarines. I think if you have the technology to come from another world, from a vast distance, you're pretty well pressurized. That's why they can go at depth. I think they don't see the difference to them. They travel through the air, they travel through the water. One's just the same as the other. We travel through the air, but have you ever seen a plane hit the water and there's pieces everywhere? It's something that we can't transverse with ease. But I believe they just say, well, we're going to go over here, and we're going to go underwater. And I don't think they think twice about it.
All right. Chris Mo in Austria is asking, living on the planet's surface is luxury. Do you think the sea is a safe place to hide for anybody?
For humans, maybe not so much. I know depth as a diver, the deeper you go and the longer that you're down there, the more decompression you have to go through. And when I was diving a whole lot, doing instruction, I know that I'd get tired a lot. There's also a limit. Even the underwater, we have underwater laboratories, and there's one right off the Florida Keys, the Aquarius, I believe it's called. I think they've been down there maybe for 90 days total. The scientists try, and I believe it's at 60 feet. They try not to stay down in these underwater bases for more than maybe 30 days at a time. They may stay a little bit longer, but it's the pressure, that added pressure to your body, I don't believe is something that's healthy. So no, it's not a good place to hide for humans unless you have I know that we personally have underwater bases for our submarines. And as long as those are pressurized, I guess you could live in there indefinitely. They're totally pressurized.
No kidding. No kidding. All right, let's continue on here. I have a question it's a MUFON question, and this experiencer wants to remain anonymous, okay? But this person says, how can MUFON say they will protect reports from experiencers wanting to remain anonymous, then release that information to a third-party UFO stalker and no longer have control of that data?
I think, and in fact, I'm sure of it, if anything that's released to anybody else doesn't have name and address, all of that, that's what I've been working on probably the past 4 or 5 years. Anything that's released to anybody else is just actually what happened, the circumstance, but we redact names. I know even as a state director, I can look at everything in my state. But if I go to a different state and I want to investigate something, there may only be the person's first name, no last name. The address is redacted. I can't see any other information. So just state to state, even though I'm a state director, even though I'm on the board of directors, I can't go in and look at someone's personal information. So there may be a first name, but let's say your name is Dan. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands, maybe of Dans across the world. And then, you can say, okay, there's a Dan in the state of Missouri. We do the best, very, very, very best we can to protect our witnesses. And that's why we've worked for so many years. And I have, oh my gosh, I think I redacted 3,500 cases. And what we're doing is just taking away names, addresses, phone numbers, that type of thing, and leaving all the pertinent information in there. But you don't know if somebody had a sighting 30 years ago. I know my mom, right to the day she passed away, had the same phone number for maybe 40 years. So anyway, I know it's a long answer to a short question, but we do our very, very best to protect the witness's identity.
All right. Flippity wants to know, do USOs always glow underwater?
No, I don't believe so. For one thing, I know that Jean Coleman, she was the one that had the sighting over Clearwater Lake in 1973. She said that the craft was hovering right over the water. She didn't know if it came in or out of the water, but it was hovering right over the water, and all the lights would come on, and then all the lights would completely blink off, and you couldn't even tell anything was there. It was just lucky that they happened to look in that direction and watched it for several minutes. But I don't believe that a craft necessarily all have. Well, I have a couple cases where there's something that was moving during the day, and somebody saw it from an airplane, and there were no lights on it. They just saw the shadow. They saw the shape. So they don't always glow underwater. I know in that certain instance, they absolutely didn't.
All right, follow up from my anonymous listener who's messaging me privately regarding the question I just asked you about the UFO stalker database. This person says, you're right, there was no address. That was protected. But the problem was there were a ton of thumbnails over my house on a map.
Wouldn't been exactly over the house, maybe the general area. I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
Can this person contact you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So this person to contact me. If anybody wants to contact me, mufondiver@gmail.com. And I'll sure absolutely look into that for you.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. This person's, I know this person personally. It's a good person, an honest, hardworking person, and
they should never be made to feel uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form. And if this person is, I sincerely apologize, and we'll make sure that this is corrected. But I don't believe that anything was intentionally. I'll put a dot over something on a map. I mean, I have a witness to say this. They live off of Liberty Boulevard. A lot of houses on Liberty Boulevard. It's a pin nail. But personally, that would shock me that someone would say, well, there's, that's my road. People aren't going to come looking. They don't really know if there's not a name or anything, but there's a boulevard, there's an area, a general area, but I don't believe they GPS it exactly. Even our cases, they're not exactly GPSed. We put the longitude and latitude on everything, but we want to make sure it's not exactly pinpointed. It's kind of rounded off.
Right. All right. I appreciate that. We got about 3 minutes to go here with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Our guest, once again, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, MUFON Board of Directors member and author of her brand new book, The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO and USO water-related activity. Debbie, the year is winding down so fast here. We've got about a month and a half left in 2021. UFO-wise, what kind of year has this been?
I think cases have slowed down a little bit. Sighting cases only because a lot of people they don't go outside as much. They are now. Things are picking up. We had a very active last month. This last month has been, but it seems like, I watch people driving down the street with a mask on their face, and I think that's ridiculous. People jogging with one. So I think we haven't had as many reports, if that's what you mean. And in fact, tonight I believe there's a meteor shower, so everybody go outside and look. You might see something more than meteors. There have been a few fewer reports.
Is that because of COVID, or is it because of weather, or people just not paying attention as per usual?
No, I honestly believe they dropped because of COVID. People were just afraid. I know people that wouldn't even leave their house at all. And a lot of these cases are, well, I went outside to have a smoke, or I went outside to walk my dog. They're not going out. They're not staying out as long. They're letting dog do the business and get right back in the house. It's just really a shame worldwide. There was a lot of fear that was put upon people, some of it necessary, but some of it maybe not so much, especially people out in the rural area. I mean, out here, where I am. In fact, the farther south that we go, no one ever really wore masks at all. And I understand fully, though, when you get into the city, absolutely, you've got to wear every protection that you have because you're more, bunched together. It depends on where you live, but I think it was something that's never happened before, and I think it just put a lot of fear maybe in a lot of people. And I believe that might have been a good reason why I personally know people that wouldn't even leave their house at all. They had just things delivered.
Absolutely. So, we have a minute to go. Let everybody know where they can find your book and get a hold of you.
Oh, you can get a hold of me. My email is mufondiver@gmail.com. And my book's available on Amazon. It's in hardcover, in color, and then it's also in black and white softcover.
Awesome.
And it's available right now on Amazon.
Awesome. You know what? You're doing great work. You always have on the USO search. There are not many people focusing underwater to see what these aliens are doing underneath the surfaces of the water here on this planet. Keep up the great work. And I'm excited because you and I will actually get to meet in 2022.
Oh, so you're going to be there in Sag Harbor, huh?
No, at the MUFON Symposium.
Oh, that's right. Gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're
like,
going to be a speaker at
I
our
will be a
MUFON
speaker this
Symposium.
year.
Absolutely.
Or 2022.
Can't wait.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I sent in some information tonight about it, and I'm locked and loaded and ready to go and blow the doors off of the MUFON people who show up. And hopefully we'll get a lot of Spaced Out Radio listeners there as well.
Well, come out to Sag Harbor, too.
That's 4,000 miles away from me. We'll see. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, everybody, thank you so much. Coming up next, we have Dave 101. Who's protecting the experiencers? Let's talk about it next on Spaced Out Radio as we continue after this. Good show. Good show.
I hope I didn't offend anybody at the end about the masks. I mean, because we don't wear them out here. We really never had to. But then I do feel for the people in the city. I just today went and had a meeting with the restaurant where I hold my monthly meetings. We haven't had a meeting for 19 months because it's in the city and there's different restrictions. And we're good to go. We're going to have our first MUFON meeting Wednesday.
Good
the
for
first
you.
one in 19 months.
Good for you. Good
in-person meeting, finally.
And good luck with that. Seriously.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about it because a lot of our MUFON members and guests are older people. And out of the people that came to our meetings, I already know of 3 of them that we lost. So, it's just I have this responsibility. I feel that, I sure don't want anybody to get sick. But the restaurant said that they haven't had any outbreak. They're fine. Nobody was wearing masks. They're in a very safe area. There's patches, You probably know that too. You'll have one area that's really active, and then you have the county or the city right next to it where they said, we don't have anybody. So you just, you pray to God, you're doing the right thing, and everybody take care of themselves. And
right on.
You got to start living again.
I will let you get some sleep.
Yeah, I got to go home. I'm at my office.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thank you for having me on. And if you have any questions, my email address, my phone number. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Debbie Ziegelmeyer, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate all of you for tuning us in for that. Dave 101 right around the corner, as well as Shirky Poo's News. All right, let's kill the mask comments in the chat room, if you don't mind. We don't talk COVID in our chat room. So, you know what? Let's just... make it happen. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wrenches, do your job. If you don't mind. I would appreciate that. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. And let's sorry guys, nothing personal. Getting rid of a bunch of the mask comments. Don't want it here. MUFON Symposium is in Denver, Colorado, July 8th to 10th. July 8th to 10th. Would appreciate anybody who wants to come on down for that, or up, or sideways. We'd appreciate that. And MUFON's conference this year will be on about UFOs in the media. I think this is why I was chosen. Think so. All right. Is that an alien-headed Buddha behind Dave? Yes. Yes, it is. Right there. Denver, Colorado. Hold on, I'll grab all the details here. Where is it? Inbox. There it is. Copy. And we'll go here. Right there. Hi, Terrible Times. I don't even know how many times you super chatted tonight, Simon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. That's a new record, Simon. That's a new record. Appreciate that. And thank you also to Alicia, Apollo, Jenny, Cherry Pepsi, Mike, Manny, Jason, Cat Chaser, Chris, Thomas, Surf Jer, Kira, Ozzy Ange, Obi, Mark, Apollo a couple of times, and G. West. We appreciate it so much. Thank you for the love and support you guys are giving us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And we're going to get into the thought of the day coming up here momentarily. So let's just make it happen. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Twitch at Spaced Out Radio as well. We'll be adding videos there very soon. It is time for Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Yes, who is protecting the experiencers out there in the UFO alien world? And around here, we could still say aliens, much to the chagrin of some of the newbies on the field who are coming on in saying, oh, the aliens, they don't like being called aliens. They want to be called ETs or extraterrestrials. Bah, come on, we got more important things to worry about. And the reason why I'm talking about this is I had one of our listeners drop me a nice little note yesterday about being an experiencer. And I'm going to read this to you guys because it's important. Being an experiencer that blindly trusted MUFON with my particulars, I felt panic and rage to see my anonymous report plastered all over a third-party entity, UFO Stalker, on MUFON's website, and immediately lost complete confidence in those who say they are gathering their information for the good of the community. That goes for Tessa as well. I was urged to share my experiences and evidence of my experiences with them, and after listening to the guy, there is no frickin' way that I would do it, as he too seems to be all loosey-goosey about sharing information he gathers. And that's where the problem lies. With experiencers who are not willing to go public but have very good evidence, they are trapped to remain silent, because if they provided any one of these organizations with information that rocks the community with some high target data, you know none of them are going to keep a lid on it to respect the experiencer's identity of privacy. On top of that, you would have the Johns of the world ready to immediately suggest a person is mentally imbalanced and needing medical support with their claims rather than accept them at face value. And by that I mean when they can't be explained that they be identified as paranormal, nope, and respected as such. Not happening there either. I can only wonder how many folks like me out there with some pretty amazing experiences are highly selective on who they are going to share what's going on with them. Now, as an experiencer myself, that hit me because I'm involved in this on a daily basis. I'm someone like you out there who's a fan of this topic, who's experienced this topic, but I have chosen to go public with this topic. Now, many of you out there have chosen not to, for a number of reasons. Maybe you don't want family to know. Maybe it's highly embarrassing, some of the things you feel that has happened to you. Maybe you don't want to lose your job. Maybe you're religious and don't want to tell anybody because you don't want the whole demon crowd running down on you from those who maybe take the Bible too far. So, how do we deal with it? It's hard to be judged, especially when you have a very judgmental community. The one community that is supposed to have your back doesn't. Because as we've seen over the last few years, especially in the last 4, we're not supposed to associate extraterrestrial activity, abductions, and contact with UFOs or UAP. No. The experiencer has been kicked to the side. Not shoved, not pushed, kicked to the side. Why? Because maybe, just maybe, we know what's going on. But because we can't be scientifically proving anything, we are just anecdotal stories of made-up imagination. Or maybe it's because others who are commenting on this type of phenomena have never had the experiences to understand what it's like to be abducted, what it's like to wake up on a table, what it's like to be anal probed, as some have gone through. There are nightmarish studies of cases of this. MUFON has done them. Tessa has done them. The Free Experiencers group has done the cases. Not all experiences are bad. Not all of them are good. However, the one thing that is 100% is the experiencer is the forgotten soul of ufology. Is it fair? I don't particularly think so. If we didn't have the stories of Travis Walton, Betty and Barney Hill, the Andreassens, Calvin Parker, and even looking towards today, the likes of Chris Bledsoe and his family, Samantha Mowat, and others, we would have nothing to investigate. Proof. What is proof? So many times in the chat room or other chat rooms, and I hear chat hosts, I hear chat rooms, we want proof. Like taking a judge's gavel and slamming it on their desk. Where is the proof? It's Khrushchev all over again at the United Nations, slapping his shoe down on his desk. Why are we so angry about proof? I don't need to show you proof. Other people who are experiencers don't need to show you proof. And how do you get proof when you're taken in the middle of the night by a phenomena you don't understand? You don't have anything knowledge of it except for recall the next morning. Are you supposed to say to Mr. Gray Alien or Mr. Mantid Being or Mr. Reptilian, can you hold on a second, please? I'm just going to grab my cell phone over here or my GoPro over there, and I'm going to strap it onto my head, put it on video, and this is what we are going to do. The aliens don't give you a choice. And then when you get experiencers, or said experiencers, alleged experiencers, like Demi Lovato or Anjali, coming out with, they don't want to be called aliens. That's too rough. They prefer ETs or extraterrestrials or off-worlders or Jim, Simon, Bob, Frank, Julie, Josephine, Francis. Come on. How are we supposed to be taken seriously? That's the truth. Everybody in this field wants to screw the experiencers. They want nothing to do with the stories. They don't believe anything can come of them because in the end, it's just a story. You can't trust any type of hypnotherapy because it's not 100%. You can't trust anything. The only thing you can trust is the story. Now, a lot of people out there don't like the stories. We've heard too many of them. And I understand that argument all too well. I really do. The argument of the story is this. We've heard them all before. We're tired of it. But look, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do know as well. The governments in the world, namely the United States government, is not going to open up that little Pandora's box that tells us who's being taken and who's not. Do not buy the story of the U.S. government when they say, geez, we don't really know what these are. You know, it could be here, could be there, drones, China, Russia. You know, maybe somebody from Canada up near Fort McMurray is flying a drone and it's affecting the airwaves. I don't know. BS. They do know. They do know more than what they want to know. Watching these politicians squirm, saying, we don't know what they are. Ask the questions. Your own military's not going to tell you because they're so buried deeply in the alphabet agencies and the military that information will never come out. This is why we have a controlled narrative, if you haven't figured that out for yourself. But back to the experiencers. Most people out there do not know what it's like to have your world turned upside down because of an experience. I know what it's like personally. It's not fun. I was 40 years old when all of a sudden Samantha Mowat takes me into a forest in the middle of the day and I'm looking 200 feet away from a 10 to 12 foot extraterrestrial. Proof, Dave. Where's your proof? Don't need proof. Because when your eyes are seeing something that your brain cannot comprehend, you're not thinking, Mr. Alien, hold on right there in the forest, please. I know it's a beautiful day, but I'm going to just take my phone out and grab a selfie if you don't mind. It's not the way it works. It's scary. It's eerie. Even if you are not afraid, you cannot comprehend what is going on. You can barely comprehend what happens at night. You have no proof when you're dropped back in your bed. Or like John Carty, former guest on this show, wakes up the next morning and his shorts are on backwards and his shirt is off, yet he remembers going to bed with his shirt on and his shorts worn properly. What about people who wake up with scars on their body and they disappear right in front of them? This is part of the phenomena that is happening. And the problem is, what is proof? The naysayers out there, they want videos, they want photographs. But you know what happens when you provide those videos and photographs? That's fake. That's not real. That's CGI. That's makeup. Those aren't bruises. Those are freckles. All right? That's a birthmark. That's a mole. That's a goiter. All right? That's just gout flaring up. Whatever you want to call it. There is no win for the experiencers. And this is why, because it is never good enough, why experiencers are choosing to shut up. And it's sad, because we need those stories. We need that anecdotal evidence to potentially give us some clues as to what's going on. What happens here is, when you take these stories, if you look into each and every one of them, you may be able to find patterns to what is going on. We need those patterns. We need to study those patterns. This is why it blows my mind when someone like Brandon Fugel, who owns the Skinwalker Ranch, will not bring experiencers onto his property. Sure, he's had people come onto the property who have had experiences, who have had phenomena happening. But what about those people who can contact that phenomena or conjure up the phenomena, summon the phenomena? Why are we not testing that? Fugel told me personally, we haven't thought about it. It's not very scientific. Sure it is. But once again, the experiencers get the runaround. They're told they're not good enough. Their story's not good enough. It sounds unbelievable. You know what? These are people who have experienced very trauma type of phenomena. Trauma so great that they don't even want to tell their spouse, their friends, maybe their church leaders, their bosses, their teammates. They don't want to talk about it. And that's a shame, because we need those patterns. We need those consistencies. We need to figure out what these downloads are about that the experiencers are having. But the unfortunate part about it is, more and more we see experiencers not trusting anyone to share their stories. This is why Lynn Wallington, our weekend host here on Spaced Out Radio, is starting an Experiencer Speak group. It'll be starting within a couple of weeks. And if you are an experiencer, I ask all of you to start it. What you may not know about Lynn is she has a psychology degree. She worked with Dr. Edgar Mitchell's Free Experiencers. She knows what it's all about. And it's about talking about this, giving people an avenue where they know they're not going to be prejudged, where they know their story is not going to be ridiculed or torn apart as some dream that is easily denied and easily torn apart. Give the experiencers a chance. Lay off of them a little bit. And by God, if somebody comes to you in confidence, keep their information quiet, because the experiencers are doing what they're supposed to do. They are reaching out. It is their own community that is turning their backs on them, and that's a sad day in ufology. But it won't change until more people understand what is going on. And that's your Dave 101. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. Let's do this thing. All right, here's a gross one right off the bat. On a night that seemed like any other, a perfectly healthy 38-year-old man from Massachusetts fell from his bed amid a violent seizure. The commotion woke his wife, who found her husband on the floor shaking and speaking gibberish. He was quickly rushed to hospital. There, doctors witnessed the man have a 2-minute-long tonic-clonic grand mal seizure, in which he lost consciousness and his muscles aggressively contracted. Doctors began the painstaking process trying to figure out what is going on. After a battery of tests, he seemed pretty healthy. Nothing seemed out of order. But this is what happened. They performed a CT scan on his head, and then they figured out what it was. You see, the man accidentally had a weak stomach for good reason. Yep. He ate some pork tapeworms that were typically stuck in the human intestines. Meat not cooked very well. Yep. Had some poo on him. Didn't wash his food properly. And the next thing you know, he ingested the tapeworm's eggs. Well, they hatched, they crawled up into his brain and caused this seizure-like happening. Good news about it is they were able to fix him, but it's a good lesson. Always cook your meat. Don't eat undercooked pork, because you may get tapeworms who've been feeding off of poo this entire time. Firefighters in Michigan are trying to locate a deer spotted wandering with a plastic pumpkin stuck over its head. Jeff Ott captured a video of a female deer with a Halloween bucket stuck in its face in Cascade Township. The town's fire department said firefighters were able to briefly capture the deer, but the animal kicked loose of the restraints and ran off before the bucket could be removed. Firefighters are asking residents who spot the deer to contact them or just tackle it and rip the plastic head off. Whatever. Deer are strong. They can fight through anything. I got a bunch of them around here. Those things are tough. A Rhode Island man, this will be our final story, is celebrating an achievement of his lifelong dream. At the age of 89 years old, Manfred Steiner has earned his doctorate in physics. Yeah, he previously earned a medical degree and doctorate in biochemistry, and since his attention turned back to physics after he retired at age 70 from working as a hematologist at Brown University, he wanted to continue on. He says, I went to all the classes and eventually I made it on to graduate school. I thought, why not continue now? I might as well get a PhD. So that's exactly what he did. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, Steiner said his passion for physics is driven by the field's precision. In medicine, I always felt like there were so many variables, he said. In physics, there are some variables, a lot of them actually, but you can go to a precision that is unmatched anywhere in the other scientific world. And Steiner was awarded his doctorate after successfully defending his thesis, Corrections to the Geometrical Interpretation of Bosonization. Steiner said he is considering walking at Brown's commencement ceremony in May. Even though I am old, I would like to continue with physics, and even after writing and publishing this paper, I want to continue my research, he said. I always try to keep my brain sharp. Physics certainly helped me do that. My goodness. Oh yeah, I forgot to do a thought of the day today. We'll continue on with the stories here. In the spring of 1776, Marie Antoinette chanced upon 2 diamond bracelets so dazzling and rare, even the Queen of France couldn't afford it. She borrowed a princely sum from her husband and used gemstones from her collection to pay 250,000 livres for the pair. Recently discovered by jewelry historian Vincent Malan, show that in February 1777, the personal papers of King Louis VIII stated to the Queen down payment of 29,000 livres for the diamond bracelets she bought from Boehmer. Soon after, as we all know, things took a turn for the worse for the King and Queen. In January 1971, Count Mercy Argenteau, a loyal friend of the family, received a letter from Queen Marie Antoinette, then a prisoner in Paris. She would send him the wooden chest for safekeeping, and it was stored. Well, guess what? That bracelet gone up for auction. What's it worth? $9.6 million. Yeah, it sold at Christie's Magnificent Jewels auction. Yeah, it was only supposed to reach about $2 million. So there you go. Marie Antoinette, still relevant in 2021. Thank you to everybody participating in our show tonight as a listener. We appreciate it and all your questions. Thank you for everybody listening to the Dave 101. Let me know about what you think of my rant in the comment section below. We would appreciate that on YouTube. And, of course, to Debbie Ziegelmeyer, talking USOs all night long. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, say it with me,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, throw them in the back. We've got room for them, too. Good night.